Okay, so like, imagine this, right? You're stuck, like it feels like you're one of those small towns, same old, same routine, same limitations, like the same fears holding you back. Yeah, I've been there. But what if I told you we could find some inspiration in a kind of weird place, Beauty and the Beast?
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, we're gonna do a deep dive today into Belle's world to find some really surprising life lessons. Right. Forget the prince, forget the castle. This is about unlocking your own, like, potential.
It's funny, like, how a fairy tale can have such deep insights.
Yeah.
This article, What Belle from Beauty and the Beast Can Teach Us About Life, Love, and Learning, it really, like, it blew my mind.
Really?
It's not just about, happily ever after. It's about, like, cognitive psychology, empathy, the power of stories. It's like real science meets Disney magic.
Okay, so let's start with Belle's, her famous line. There must be more than this provincial life. It's like she's channeling every woman, right? Every woman who's ever felt like stuck and like yearned for, something bigger, something more.
Totally. That's like pure epistemic curiosity.
Epistemic curiosity.
Yeah. It's not about just wanting to know stuff, for practical reasons. It's like a much deeper hunger for knowledge, and understanding. Just for the joy of it.
So like when you stay up late reading a book.
Yes.
Even though you have to work early the next morning.
Exactly. Or like when you randomly sign up for that online course, even though, you might not ever use the information.
Right.
And here's the thing, a study in psychological science, they found that people who have high epistemic curiosity, they actually have much better cognitive function, like as they age.
What?
Yeah.
So Belle might be onto something with all those books.
Yeah, she might be.
Wait, so being curious, like, could help us stay, sharp.
Yeah.
As we get older, that changes everything. I'm definitely swapping my social media scroll tonight for a good book. But like, how do we actually cultivate that Belle level curiosity? In our everyday lives.
Well, the article suggests some really, really interesting things. It's like, it can be as simple as just, finally signing up for that pottery class.
Right.
The one you've been thinking about. Mm-hmm. Or maybe using an app like Blinkist to explore new topics. You have those few spare minutes. We all have them.
Oh, yeah.
Or even just, shaking up your reading list. Try a genre you normally wouldn't read. That can spark new neural pathways.
I love that idea. Like treating our brains like Belle's, enchanted library.
Yeah.
Full of possibilities.
Yes.
Okay, speaking of enchanting, let's talk about Belle's relationship with the Beast. It gets a lot of negative attention with the whole Stockholm Syndrome thing.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. But the article really dives deeper and says that Belle's connection with the Beast goes, way beyond that. It's about her ability for empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah.
That's like a big word these days, empathy.
Yeah.
But what does it really mean, in this context?
Well, it's important to know the difference between cognitive empathy and emotional empathy. Okay. So emotional empathy is about feeling what somebody else is feeling, which can be like so draining. It can even lead to burnout.
Right.
But cognitive empathy is about it's about understanding another person's perspective, even if you don't agree with them or like condone their behavior.
Right.
And Belle, she's like a masterclass in cognitive empathy. She sees past the Beast's anger and she recognizes his pain without excusing his actions.
Okay, that's such an important point, especially I think for women, right? We're like expected to be understanding.
Yeah.
And forgiving.
Yeah.
Even when, someone's treated us poorly. But Belle shows us that empathy doesn't mean you have to be a doormat.
Yeah.
You can understand, someone's struggles.
Yeah.
Without sacrificing your own well-being.
Exactly. It's about setting boundaries.
Right.
And recognizing that you can be compassionate without taking on other people's, burdens.
Right.
And there's research in the Journal of Social Psychology that shows that practicing empathy has like unbelievable benefits.
Really?
It can strengthen relationships, it can reduce stress, it can even like boost your problem-solving skills.
It's not just about being, nice.
Yeah.
It's actually like good for us.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's be real. Putting empathy into practice can be hard.
Right.
Especially like when you're dealing with, difficult people. Any tips from Belle? From her playbook?
The article has some really, really practical techniques. So like when you're in a conflict with somebody, right? Try pausing. ask yourself, like, what might this person be going through that I don't see? You know, it's not about making excuses for bad behavior, but it can help you, you know? It can help you approach the situation with more understanding and less judgment.
It's like putting on those magic glasses.
Yeah.
From Belle's favorite fairy tale.
Yeah.
And seeing the world through somebody else's eyes, even for a second.
Exactly. And, you know, active listening is so crucial, repeating back what somebody says. Not to parrot them, but to show that you're paying attention. It can make a huge difference.
Simple, but so powerful. Okay, and it brings us back to the whole Stockholm Syndrome thing. The article argues that Belle doesn't, like, fall for the beast because she's trapped.
Yeah.
Or, you know, brainwashed.
Right.
But because he shows real vulnerability and a willingness to change.
Which, you know, totally aligns with Brené Brown's research on vulnerability. Being a strength, not a weakness. Think about it. The beast's transformation. It depends on him opening up to Belle, showing her his flaws, which allows him to, you know, ultimately connect with her on a deeper level.
Yeah, it's like he had to let go of his, like, beastly defenses to let love in.
Yeah.
And that's something we can all relate to, right? Letting somebody see our, you know, our true selves, imperfections and all.
Yeah.
Can be terrifying.
Yeah, it can be scary. But it's also the foundation of, you know, real connection. We all crave that, you know, that deep sense of belonging. But it requires us to step out of our comfort zones and risk being seen. You know, flaws and all.
So how do we do that? How do we, like, channel our inner Belle and embrace vulnerability without feeling completely exposed?
The article suggests starting small. Yeah. Maybe it's sharing, like a struggle, with a friend, someone you trust, or admitting a mistake to a colleague, or even just acknowledging a fear that you've been, you know, holding on to. It doesn't have to be this big gesture, just an honest moment of letting your guard down.
Like dipping your toe in the vulnerability pool.
Yeah.
Instead of doing cannonball.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But even those small steps can feel really scary.
They can. And that's where self-compassion comes in. Remember, vulnerability isn't about being perfect. It's about being human. We all have flaws. We all make mistakes. And that's okay.
Okay, now let's talk about Belle's, you know, her love of books. It's more than just a cute thing about her. It's like a really powerful tool for building empathy and resilience and emotional intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. There's research from Science Magazine that shows that reading fiction, especially like character-driven stories, actually strengthens our capacity for empathy.
Yeah.
It's like stepping into someone else's shoes, you know, and experiencing the world through their eyes.
So it's like Belle's books, they're like her own personal therapy sessions.
Yeah.
Helping her understand, like, herself.
Yeah.
And the world around her.
That's a great way to put it. And the article even talks about bibliotherapy.
Bibliotherapy.
Yeah, using literature for therapeutic purposes. It's interesting to think about reading not just as, you know, escapism, but as a way to, like, process emotions, gain new perspectives, and build resilience.
So it's not just about getting lost in a good story. It's about, like, using those stories to grow and learn. I mean, thinking back, there are so many books that, like, helped me through tough times or helped me see the world, you know, in a new way.
Absolutely. And the best thing about bibliotherapy is that it's accessible to everybody, right? It's like having a personal therapist on your bookshelf.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so how do we make the most of this book-powered magic? Any Belle-inspired tips for using bibliotherapy in our own lives?
Well, the article has some great suggestions.
What?
One is to be intentional about the stories that you consume, instead of just reading whatever's on, like, the bestseller list.
Right.
Challenge yourself. Seek out books that expose you to different experiences and perspectives. You know, it could be like a memoir by somebody from another culture, or a novel set in, like, a historical period that you don't know much about, or even like a fantasy novel that explores a totally different way of seeing the world.
So it's like using books, like, as a passport to new worlds and new ways of thinking.
Another tip is to use books as a source of comfort and stress relief. When you're going through a tough time, sometimes getting lost in a good story, it can be, like, the best medicine.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself permission to escape, you know, into a world where your problems don't exist, even if it's just for a little while.
Yeah.
And then when you come back to, you know, to reality, you might just find yourself feeling a little bit more refreshed.
Absolutely.
And ready to face whatever challenges are waiting.
Yeah.
Okay. And don't underestimate the power of, sharing book recommendations with friends. It's a great way to start those meaningful conversations about life, about values, about, the human experience.
It's like creating your own little book club for the soul.
I love that. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Belle's or her fierce independence. In a village, that's obsessed with everybody being the same, she stands out like a bright sunflower in a field of dandelions. It's such a contrast to Gaston, who, embodies that toxic masculinity and tries to force her into this mold.
And this brings us to the fascinating world of social psychology. Nonconformity, especially for women, it often, creates admiration and influence. There's this study published in Social Psychological and Personality Science, and they found that people who stand out, but in like subtle ways, like having like a unique style or expressing unconventional opinions, they're often seen as like more competent and influential. And Belle's refusal to compromise her values, that's what ultimately earns her respect and freedom.
It's so inspiring, especially in a world that like pressures women to fit in and be agreeable. It makes you wonder, like, what would happen if we all just like embraced our unique qualities more boldly?
It's a question worth pondering. What are those quirks, those passions, those unconventional opinions that you've been like holding back? What if embracing those parts of yourself? What if that was your superpower?
I love that, reframing it.
Yes.
So how do we channel our inner Belle and break free from the Gastons in our lives?
Well, the article gives us some powerful steps. Lean into your quirks, your authenticity. That's magnetic.
It is.
Set firm boundaries with the people that try to dim your light or try to force you into a box. Surround yourself with people who celebrate you, celebrate your individuality. And most importantly, recognize that being too much, that's often, code for being extraordinary.
I love that. Okay, we've covered a lot here, but I want to make sure that we bring it home for our listeners.
Yeah, it's so empowering to think about, isn't it? Like, we often get so caught up in societal expectations and the pressure to conform, and those Gastons that try to dim our shine. But Belle reminds us that true strength lies in embracing our individuality and writing our own stories.
Absolutely. And it's not just about like defying those expectations. It's about living a more like fulfilling life. When we're curious and empathetic and open to vulnerability, we create like richer experiences, deeper connections, and a greater sense of purpose.
It's like Belle's journey is a metaphor for our own, potential. She starts out feeling like trapped in that provincial town, right? Yearning for something more. But through her experiences, her love of books, her connection with the beast, her courage in standing up for herself, she blossoms, right, into this strong, independent woman who ultimately creates like her own happily ever after.
And she does it all while rocking that iconic yellow ball gown. But seriously, her story resonates because it speaks to something universal, right? It's that desire to break free from limitations, whether they're external or self-imposed.
Exactly. We all have our own provincial town in a way. It's those limiting beliefs, those fears, those routines that keep us stuck. But Belle shows us that we have the power to choose. We can choose curiosity over complacency, empathy over judgment, vulnerability over the need to appear, perfect.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not defined by our circumstances.
No, not.
We have like the agency to create our own adventures, to seek out knowledge, to cultivate like those meaningful connections, and to embrace the messy, the imperfect beauty of being human.
And it all starts with a single daring choice. What's one small step that you can take today to break free from your own provincial town?
Yeah, what is it?
Maybe it's picking up a book outside your usual genre, or reaching out to someone you've been wanting to connect with, or simply allowing yourself to daydream about a future full of possibilities.
Those are all great suggestions.
Yeah.
And remember, you don't have to do it all at once, right?
Yeah, you know.
Small steps consistently can lead to incredible transformations.
It's like Belle's journey. It unfolds gradually with each experience shaping her and pushing her to grow. She doesn't become, a confident, empathetic woman overnight.
Oh.
It's a process of discovery and evolution.
Yeah, it's a process we can all embrace, right? We can all choose to be the heroines of our own stories, to write our own, happily ever afters, one brave choice at a time. So we've talked about like these amazing qualities Belle embodies, but how do we actually bring them into our lives? Where do we even begin?
Well, the article gives us a great starting point. Let's take curiosity, for example. One suggestion is to embrace lifelong learning. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean like hitting the books 24/7. Right. Though if that's your thing, go for it.
Yeah, of course.
It's more about being open to new experiences and actively seeking out knowledge.
So like signing up for that photography class you've always wanted to take.
Exactly.
Or finally learning how to code.
Yeah. It could even be as simple as watching a documentary on a subject you know nothing about.
Right.
Or having a deep conversation with someone who has a totally different perspective than you. Mm-hmm. The key is to keep your mind engaged and feed that hunger for knowledge.
Like turning everyday life into your own personal adventure.
Yeah.
A quest for new discoveries.
Yeah.
And for those of us who struggle with, mindless scrolling, I'm raising my hand over here. The article suggests swapping like passive consumption for active exploration.
Yes. There are so many incredible apps out there.
Right.
That can help us do just that. Like Blinkist.
Blinkist, yeah.
Which gives you like key insights from nonfiction books in just a few minutes. Or Coursera, where you can take actual courses from top universities on practically any subject you can imagine.
It's like having a world of knowledge.
It is
at your fingertips. Yeah. And let's not forget about Belle's True Love books.
Yeah.
The article encourages us to treat books like Belle's Enchanted Library, like a portal to endless possibilities and adventures.
Absolutely. Challenge yourself to explore genres you've never even considered before.
Okay.
Pick up a biography of someone who inspires you.
Yeah.
Delve into a historical novel. Right. Or even just lose yourself in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
Reading is like a workout.
Yeah.
Your empathy muscles. Expanding your understanding of the human experience.
It's not just about escaping reality. It's about enriching it. Speaking of enriching reality, let's talk about empathy. We've discussed its importance in understanding other people's perspectives, but how do we actually put that into practice? Especially when we're faced with those challenging personalities.
Well, the article offers some really valuable tips inspired by Belle's interactions with the beast. Mm-hmm. One key takeaway is to pause in those moments of conflict and ask yourself, what might this person be experiencing that I'm not seeing?
Right.
The simple shift in perspective can create space for compassion and understanding.
It's like remembering that everyone has their own story, right? Their own struggles, their own, reasons for behaving the way they do. Yeah. We may not always agree with their actions or understand their, motivations, but we can at least try to see the world through their eyes.
Exactly. And when we do that, it becomes easier to communicate effectively, to find common ground and to resolve conflicts constructively.
Right. Another tip that the article highlights is the power of active listening.
Active listening, yeah.
This isn't just about hearing the words someone is saying.
No.
It's about truly tuning in to to their message, both verbal and nonverbal. So it's not just about nodding and saying like, every few seconds.
Not quite. Active listening involves things like making eye contact, asking, clarifying questions and reflecting back what you've heard to make sure you're both on the same page. It's about showing the other person that you're fully present and engaged in the conversation.
It's like giving somebody the gift of your undivided attention.
Yes.
Which can be like so rare.
It is.
Valuable in today's world.
It is.
With constant distractions.
And absolutely. And remember, empathy, it doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being.
Right.
Or tolerating, toxic behavior.
Right.
Belle, she demonstrates this like beautifully in her interactions with the beast. She shows him compassion, but she also firmly challenges his anger and sets limits on what she's willing to accept.
It's like that saying, you can be kind without being a doormat.
Exactly.
Empathy is about understanding, not enabling.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between compassion and self-respect. Now let's move on to vulnerability.
Okay.
We've touched on Brené Brown's research on the power of vulnerability in building authentic connections.
Yeah.
But how do we actually bring that into our daily lives?
Yeah, good question.
The article encourages us to start by challenging ourselves to be more open with the people we trust.
So letting go of the need to appear perfect.
Yeah.
And allowing ourselves to be seen, warts and all.
Precisely. It could be as simple as, sharing a struggle you're going through, admitting a mistake you made, or expressing a fear you've been holding on to. It doesn't have to be this, grand declaration, just an honest moment of letting your guard down.
It's like taking a deep breath.
Yeah.
And allowing yourself to be truly seen,
Yes.
Without those filters, without those facades.
And remember, vulnerability, it's contagious.
It is.
When you show up authentically, it gives other people permission to do the same.
Right.
It creates this ripple effect of trust and connection.
It's like creating a safe space where everyone can like breathe a little easier and be their true selves.
But let's be real.
Yeah.
Vulnerability, it can be scary. What if people judge us, reject us, think we're weak?
I know.
Those are valid fears.
They are.
But remember, vulnerability is not weakness.
Right.
It takes courage to show up authentically, to risk being hurt, to trust that the right people will love and accept us for who we truly are.
And when we do open ourselves up, the rewards can be like incredible, deeper connections, more fulfilling relationships, and a greater sense of belonging.
Exactly. It's like trading in those superficial connections, right, for something real, something raw, something that nourishes our souls.
It's like Belle and the Beast, shedding their defenses and allowing their true selves to emerge. But how do we cultivate that kind of vulnerability, especially if we've been hurt in the past, or if we're naturally more guarded?
Well, one take the article emphasizes is the importance of self-compassion.
Okay.
Remember, we're all works in progress.
Yeah.
And vulnerability is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It's okay to start small, to set boundaries, to choose who we share our hearts with.
It's like giving ourselves permission to be human, right?
It is.
To make mistakes,
yes,
to have bad days, and to still be worthy of love and connection.
Exactly. And remember, vulnerability, it's not a one-time event. It's an ongoing practice. The more we practice, the more comfortable we become with letting our guard down, and allowing others to see our true selves.
It's like building a muscle, right?
It is.
The more we use it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah.
So we've talked about curiosity, empathy, vulnerability, but what about Belle's, her love of books?
Yeah.
How does that tie into this whole personal growth journey?
Well, the article dives into this fascinating concept called bibliotherapy.
Bibliotherapy,
which is basically using literature for therapeutic purposes.
Okay, interesting.
It's about recognizing that that stories have the power to heal, to inspire, to teach us valuable lessons about ourselves and the world around us.
So it's not just about escaping into a good book. It's about using those books to process emotions, to gain new perspectives, to build resilience.
Exactly. Think about all the times a book has made you laugh, made you cry, or think differently about the world. Stories, they have this incredible ability to connect us to something bigger than ourselves, to help us make sense of our own experiences, and to show us that we're not alone in our struggles.
It's like having a wise friend, whispering words of comfort and encouragement in your ear.
Yeah, it is.
And the beauty of bibliotherapy is that it's accessible to everyone, right?
It is.
You don't need like a therapist's couch or a fancy retreat. All you need is a library card,
right?
Or a good bookstore.
Exactly.
So how do we tap into this literary magic? Any Belle-inspired tips for incorporating bibliotherapy into our lives?
The article has some great suggestions.
Okay.
One is to be intentional about the stories you choose to consume.
Right.
Instead of just picking up whatever's on the bestseller list.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to seek out books that expose you to different cultures, different perspectives, different ways of life.
It's like creating your own personal curriculum for personal growth.
Yeah.
Curated by like the greatest storytellers of all time.
Another tip is to use books as a source of comfort and support during challenging times.
Right.
When you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed or anxious, curling up with a good book can be a really powerful way to soothe your soul.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself a mental hug.
Yeah.
Right. A reminder that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And that better days are ahead.
Exactly. And finally, don't underestimate the power of sharing book recommendations with friends. You know, it's a great way to spark like meaningful conversations, to connect on a deeper level, and to build community around shared interests.
It's like creating your own little book club.
It is
for the soul. A place where you can discuss like life's big questions. And find solace in the wisdom of stories.
Exactly. Now let's shift gears and talk about Belle's fierce independence.
Okay.
In a village obsessed with conformity.
Right.
She stands out like a wildflower.
Yeah.
In a field of perfectly manicured lawns.
It's like she's a walking, talking reminder.
Yes.
That it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
To embrace your quirks and to blaze your own trail.
Yeah.
But let's be real, nonconformity, it can be like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
On the one hand, it's empowering and liberating.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it can be lonely.
Right.
And isolating, especially when you're surrounded by people who value like fitting in above all else.
That's a great point. It's that age-old struggle, right?
Yeah.
Between belonging and authenticity. Do we conform to be accepted, or do we stay true to ourselves and risk being ostracized?
Right.
Belle, she shows us that there's a third path.
Okay.
A path of courageous individuality.
Okay.
Where we embrace our unique qualities and use them to make a positive impact on the world.
It's like saying, yes, I'm different and that's my superpower.
Exactly.
But how do we find that courage, especially when we're surrounded by messages telling us to fit in, to be quiet, to not rock the boat?
Well, the article offers some powerful insights.
Okay.
One is to reframe the idea of nonconformity.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as a rebellion against societal norms.
Right.
See it as an act of self-love and self-expression.
Okay.
It's about honoring your authentic self and sharing your unique gifts with the world.
It's like saying, this is who I am, take it or leave it.
Exactly.
But what about those times when we feel that pressure to conform, whether it's at work or in our social circles or even within our own families? How do we navigate those situations without compromising our values?
The article suggests setting clear boundaries and surrounding yourself with people who celebrate your individuality,
yep.
this might mean having difficult conversations,
right.
letting go of relationships that no longer serve you,
yeah.
or even, stepping outside of your comfort zone to find your tribe.
It's like Belle leaving her provincial town to explore the world beyond.
It is.
It's about choosing growth.
Yes.
Over stagnation, even if it means facing the unknown.
Exactly. And remember, true belonging, it doesn't come from fitting in. It comes from being seen and accepted for who you truly are.
Right.
And sometimes the most unexpected places can become your sanctuary.
It's like Belle finding solace and connection.
Yes.
In the beast's enchanted castle.
Yeah.
A place where she's free to be herself.
Yeah.
Quirks and all.
And speaking of quirks, the article encourages us to embrace our imperfections.
Yeah, to embrace them.
To see them not as flaws, but as unique facets of our personalities.
It's like saying, yes, I'm a little bit messy, a little bit loud, a little bit different, and that's what makes me special.
Exactly. And when we embrace our imperfections, we give other people permission to do the same. We create a more inclusive and compassionate world where everyone feels safe to be their authentic selves.
It's like Belle showing the beast that it's okay to be vulnerable, right?
It is.
To let go of his like gruff exterior and embrace his softer side. And in doing so, she helps him transform into like the best version of himself.
And that's the beauty of nonconformity, that it has the power to inspire, to challenge, and to create positive change. When we embrace our unique qualities and refuse to conform to those narrow expectations, we pave the way for others to do the same. We become beacons of authenticity,
right,
reminding everyone that it's okay to be different, to stand out, to shine brightly in our own unique ways.
It's like Belle's like bright yellow ball gown amidst the sea of like drab provincial attire. She's not afraid to be seen, to be noticed, to be herself. And that's a powerful message for all of us, especially in a world that often tries to dim our light.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the wisdom of Belle, let's revisit that question we posed earlier. What's one small step you can take today to break free from your own, provincial town?
What is it?
What can you do to embrace your curiosity, your empathy, your vulnerability, and your unique individuality?
Because let's face it, we all have a little bit of Belle inside of us.
We do.
It's time to let her shine.
It's like we're all on this quest, to find our own enchanted castles.
Right.
But maybe it's not like a real place. Maybe it's a state of mind.
Okay.
A way of being in the world where we feel free to be our authentic selves.
I love that analogy. It's like the real treasure isn't the prince or the castle.
Right.
It's the journey of self-discovery.
Yes. Yeah.
And the transformation that happens along the way.
Exactly. And perhaps the beast we encounter, along the way isn't some external force, but our own internal struggles, those limiting beliefs. Those fears that hold us back,
right?
Those voices of self-doubt that whisper like, you're not good enough, or you'll never be able to do that.
Oh, that's deep. It's like Belle's journey as a reminder that the greatest battles and the greatest victories often happen within.
Absolutely. And just like the beast transforms from this fearsome creature into a loving prince.
Right.
We too can transform our inner landscape.
Right.
By embracing those shadow parts of ourselves, by cultivating compassion for our imperfections,
right,
and by choosing, growth over stagnation.
It's a powerful message of hope and possibility. Yeah. We all have the potential to evolve, to become better versions of ourselves.
Yes, we do.
To create our own happily ever afters.
Yeah.
But it starts with facing those inner demons and choosing to rewrite the narrative.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about, taking ownership of our stories and choosing to be the heroines, not the victims. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today, from curiosity and empathy to vulnerability and nonconformity.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure our listeners, they walk away with some practical tools that they can use in their own lives. Right. What are some tangible actions we can take? To integrate these Belle-inspired lessons into our daily, routines?
Great question. Let's start with curiosity. The article suggests making a conscious effort to learn something new every day.
Yeah. Every day.
It doesn't have to be, this big thing.
No, it doesn't.
It could be as simple as reading an article on a topic you're not familiar with, or listening to a podcast on a new subject, or even just striking up a conversation with somebody who has a different perspective than you.
I love that. It's about feeding your mind and keeping that spark of curiosity alive.
Yeah, keeping it going.
And remember, curiosity is contagious.
It is.
Share what you learn with others.
Yeah.
Spark conversations and create a culture of intellectual exploration in your own life.
Speaking of connection, let's talk about empathy.
Okay.
We've discussed the importance of understanding, other people's perspectives.
Right.
But how do we actually put that into practice in our daily, interactions?
Well, one powerful tip the article suggests is to practice active listening in all of your conversations.
Okay, active listening.
Yeah, it's about truly tuning in to what the other person is saying and feeling.
Yeah.
Not just waiting for your turn to speak. Seek to understand their perspective even if you don't agree with it.
Yeah, it's about putting aside our own judgments and really trying to see the world through their eyes.
Exactly. And remember those little acts of kindness.
Yeah.
A listening ear, a supportive word, a helping hand.
Right.
These seemingly small gestures, they can have this ripple effect, creating a more compassionate and connected world.
Now, let's talk about vulnerability.
Okay.
We've explored the idea of embracing our imperfections and sharing our authentic selves with others.
Yes.
But how do we do that in a way that feels safe and empowering?
Yeah. The article encourages us to challenge ourselves to be more open with the people we trust.
Yeah.
It could be, sharing a struggle you're going through, admitting a mistake you made, or expressing a fear you've been holding on to.
It's about letting go of the need to appear perfect.
Yes.
And allowing ourselves to be seen. Warts and all.
And remember, when you see other people struggling, offer them a safe space to be vulnerable to.
Right.
Create a circle of trust.
Right.
And support where everyone feels comfortable being their authentic selves.
It's like building a little haven of love and acceptance where everyone's, quirks and imperfections are celebrated.
Yes, they are.
And not judged.
Exactly. And finally, let's not forget the power of stories.
Yes, the stories.
Immerse yourself in books and movies and music that expose you to different experiences and perspectives.
Right.
Use stories as a tool for self-reflection, for growth, for connection.
And don't underestimate the power of sharing your own story.
That's right.
Your experiences, your insights, your vulnerabilities. They can inspire and uplift others.
So there you have it, a blueprint for a more fulfilling life inspired by the beloved Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
Embrace curiosity, cultivate empathy, practice vulnerability, and let the power of stories guide you on your journey.
And remember, the most transformative adventures, they often begin with a single daring choice.
So true.
What will yours be?
That's a wrap on this deep dive, everyone. We hope you found it enlightening, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit magical.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep rewriting your own fairy tale.